right, guys, welcome back to Anime Bros. We're gonna be debating Hunter x Hunter, part two, which is gonna be episode 76 to the end, the Chimera Ant arc and the election arc. If you haven't seen part one, go check it out. We got Rob, the ignorant entrepreneur, and Ted joining us for this debate, and we're gonna kick it off by talking about the Chimera Ant arc, which I know a lot of people like. I honestly did not like it at all. If I wasn't doing this show, I would have dropped Hunter x Hunter because of that arc. But I know Rob and Ted like that arc. So you want to elaborate on that, Rob?
Well, I definitely want to address some points that you made from last part because you were spewing some blasphemy. You were saying things like the characters weren't getting enough screen time. You know, that the character development was just not as intricate as Yu Yu Hakusho and Naruto. And you were saying characters didn't die off. So I felt like the Chimera Ant addressed every single one of those points. All right. You had hella deaths. I mean, we're talking from Netero, the old man. We're talking
That fight was really boring.
Ted, you want to jump in? I'm a tag.
Netero and the King.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that shit was like badass to me. It was just so dirty how Netero like ended it. He's like, dude, I'm gonna win one way or another.
What was the point of that? What was the point of that fight though? Because he didn't even defeat the king, and then the king just went off and had like a revelation and like died on his own. He like no one defeated him. Gon didn't even see him.
Died because of that nuclear explosion because it had the poison shit in it.
I was like, not really. Like I was already over the show at that point. But
bro, what was the point of it? That was a last resort. Obviously, he didn't want to blow himself to hell. So he was fighting him. He was trying to beat him straight up. Yeah, when he couldn't, he was like, I'm not going to let this ant live and try to reproduce with our women and try to take over the world. We got to get him out of here. And that's what
I feel like more so Komugi defeated the king than Netero did. He's like, I just want to play Gungi for the rest of my life.
What part of the poison from the nuclear explosion did you not understand?
It was, I don't know. I think I just missed that part because I was already I was bored watching Morel like fight that cheetah, and then Killua was like fighting some like fish siblings that were like throwing darts at him, and just all these like fights. There was that octopus dude that was like, oh, Killua is my best friend now. I'm a talking octopus. Like, I was like, this arc is just like so weird and not entertaining to me.
Chris, go. What are your thoughts? And then I want to start from the beginning and kind of move toward the end.
I'm kind of in the middle, but more on the positive side. I'll say that like when I first started watching the Chimera Ant arc, it honestly felt like filler. I didn't really like it at the beginning, but I think what I enjoy is how they told the story, like how deep the story was, the characters they brought in, and how you were able to like actually get to know them. By the end of the Chimera Ant arc, I appreciated for having to tell the story, and it did something different. It didn't have Gon, the main character, fight the main bad guy. It had someone else fight it, and it still made sense. Like Gon fighting, dude, Gon would have got destroyed. He would have got killed. He would have went up against that guy. It put that guy up against a guy that can defeat him. Not many animes do that. They would send him out there to get slaughtered. You might see Naruto, you see Luffy like get beat down. If they're not powerful enough to fight the guy, they're not powerful enough to fight the guy. And the show logically made it so how the ant got defeated is how he should have got defeated.
The only thing I cared about in that arc was I enjoyed when Kite was on the screen, and then as soon as they got rid of Kite, I felt like the arc went downhill from there.
Whoa, hold on. In the first episode, you just said they weren't killing enough characters. Now they kill a character, and you're like, oh damn, I can't believe they actually killed Kite.
I didn't have
it both ways out here.
I didn't have a problem with them killing Kite. I just thought everything after that was boring. They killed Kite. I didn't have an issue with that. Like I thought Gon was gonna come out here, get revenge, which he kind of did. He like destroyed that cat later, but there was so much in between that I did not care about. Like Knuckle and Shoot, I thought were terrible characters, and they were like main characters of that arc. What were you saying, Ted?
I'm sorry. Gon did like almost the same thing Netero did, but like on a more intense level, just with like a smaller. I don't know. Like
that fight had so much buildup, and it was like so one-sided that it wasn't even interesting.
Yeah, dude.
Matt, you've lost it. I'm convinced you just
lost
lost it.
line
I don't know
over.
what you're smoking over there in North Carolina, but I could tell you this. All right, what part of boring is the buildup from, okay, we're finding out these Chimera ants, they're coming over from the dark continent, we later find out, and they're taking over the land, they're evolving into these crazy ass creatures. We saw this dude turn some people into some dogs. You remember that freak, the one that turned those like men, like he went into that guy's hideout and turned those men into like some dogs. He's groveling and stuff like that. Like it just completely changed the dynamic of the show. We're looking at like a happy-go-lucky show, and then the mood just shifts like we've never seen in an anime before. How is that boring?
Every scene that Knuckle and Shoot were on the screen, I did not care about at all, and they were like main characters of that arc. I did not care when they were like training with Bisky and they were talking about Palm, that emo girl, like he was training with Knuckle and Shoot, and Knuckle kept doing that APR attack. I thought that was like really boring. That cheetah ant was like one of the main ants. I was like, I don't care about this cheetah ant. The talking octopus and the talking wolf, like their interactions, I was like, the whole time I was like, I'm just trying to like get to like them fighting the main guys, and these side ants I really didn't care about, and they just stretched out the arc. It could have been a way shorter arc, and they just stretched it out so long. Honestly, my favorite parts of the arc were, like I said, when Kite was alive at the beginning, and then I also found it interesting when the king was playing Goongi against the blind girl. I actually liked that part because I thought it was interesting that he just like he would learn chess in a day and just destroy the dude, the master chess player, and kill him. He would like learn all these games, but he couldn't defeat Komugi, and I thought that was interesting. And then just their dynamic, he's like, "I'm gonna kill you if I beat you," and she's like, "That's fine. I just want to play Goongi against you." So I thought their interactions were cool, but I really didn't care about like that one old dude like kidnapped all those women and had them in the basement of that building. I was like, I don't care about any of this stuff.
That dude was like, he was a little creep.
Yeah.
A little creepy on that one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like Hunter x Hunter has depth.
Well, that's interesting though, because I feel like you would have liked, what was that guy? Oh, Knuckle? Because to me, he was like a carbon cutout version of Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho. To me, they were like the exact same character. But I didn't really like Knuckle. I didn't like Knuckle or Kuwabara that much. So
I did not like the talking lion that Morel had to fight also, that like had the surfboard and he was like riding the waves to attack Morel, and Morel had to like hide under the water to fight him. Like I did kind of like Morel's character, but I didn't like anyone he fought. I didn't like the cheetah. I didn't like the lion. It's like they just had so many characters that I didn't care about. I was like, I want to see who's fighting the king. I want to see like what's going on with Kite because they're thinking he might still be alive, or Gon's trying to save him. I like the Neferpito, the cat guard. I was like, I want to see her fight, but she like didn't even really do much after fighting Kite. So it just kind of dragged.
Like the.
It was just such a long arc, and it could have been way shorter because I didn't care about the talking octopus. I didn't care about Knuckle and Shoot. I didn't. There's just so much stuff like get to the good part, and I just felt like a lot of it wasn't needed.
Well, I feel like Knuckle and Shoot was needed because they showed Gon and Killua like the weaknesses of their attack. So like when I first saw like Gon plot his special, I'm like, bro, he's not going to have enough time to charge that up in a one-on-one. But I think them going through that, like essentially facing people who are a little bit more experienced than them, allowed them to get like that battle experience before they went up against these ants.
I will just make one more point before I pass the torch. I did like when the Phantom Troop was fighting the ants. I would have loved to see more of like Phantom Troop fighting these. I thought like the whole world was gonna be fighting these ants. I thought like Illumi and Hisoka might have to get involved. Hisoka wasn't in this arc at all, which
Yeah,
any arc he's not in is like automatically worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I did think they should have had some Hisoka in there. I was like, damn, dude, Hisoka's been gone for how many episodes?
Well, I just completely disagree with everything you just said. I think that all the characters.
So you like the talking octopus? You thought that was like a great character?
Dude, I felt emotion when he like betrayed the rest of his kind, and he was like, "Yo, I was just looking for a friend. I was looking for someone to accept me," and he teamed up with Killua. That was dope. I like that part personally. I think that all the ants kind of gave us different. Like, I mean, if you look at anime, right? How many times do you have as vast of a character list as you do in Hunter x Hunter? You'd have to go to like One Piece. You could go to like Naruto or something like that, but we're talking big tier animes.
I feel like I kind of gotta agree with Feldman on this a little bit, or Matt, because like these are some of my favorite like animes easily, but the like they do drag it out too long sometimes. Like, like they have some great parts here and there, but you got to sift through all the like the little side stories, and then they keep making it more and more like in the latest One Piece like story arc, like Land of Wano. It's like it's been going on for like what 400 episodes, like it's insane. There's so many different characters, and some parts of it is like a great story, but it's just so fucking long, you know.
Well,
It's like,
I feel like as an anime fan, I like the content. So I agree, like these are long arcs, but I could really see Hunter x Hunter be 3,000, 4 or 5,000 episodes. And now that you guys have seen the show, could you see why I would think that?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the last arc because it brought back a lot of my favorite characters. I had Hisoka, I had Illumi. I got both of them in my background. Those are probably my two favorite characters. It was centered around Killua, and I honestly like some of the arcs where Gon's on the screen less. So it was centered around Killua a little bit, and I liked watching all that. I liked watching the election, like who's going to replace Netero. I was way more interested in that stuff than the ants. And then Gon finds his father, and yeah, like you said, you find out about that dark continent, or like there's this whole bigger world out there. So I can definitely see how they'd expand the show. And I guess the ant arc was necessary to like kind of showcase that there's other creatures out there in the world. But I just felt like that ant arc was way too long, and then this much shorter arc, the last arc, I enjoyed way more because I just thought it had way more action. It was way faster paced. There wasn't really any filler.
Well, how do you feel about the character development? Because you were one of the guys who's trying to say that. I think you were trying to say like Yusuke Urameshi had more character development than Gon, or who was the Fox guy?
I don't even think like Gon developed too much. I think Killua probably developed
you've
the
lost
most.
all credibility.
I think Killua had the most character development in the show.
I agree with that. Oh, I would
Gon
say
didn't
by
develop
far.
during the show, Matt.
Gon kind of had like the same mentality, same personality the whole show. He's like very optimistic. Uh, he's about the adventure, trying to find his dad.
So you thought
And
the Gon in the Chimera Ant arc was the same Gon that we saw in all the other seasons before?
I think he became more powerful, but I don't think like his personality necessarily changed.
What?
I think he got really depressed and then like start getting like extreme, like in that arc, and then afterwards he kind of went back to the old guy he was, or the old kid he was.
Well, he was depressed because Kite died, but I think like that would happen to anyone in real life as well if they lost someone they cared about.
He didn't just get
Okay.
depressed. His whole demeanor changed. He looked at the chameleon guy. He goes, if you betray me, I can just kill you, you know? Like he says it nonchalant. His whole psychology has just changed. I feel like he's been holding on to this resentment that his father left him as a kid this whole time. And he was just looking for something to trigger him.
I don't think it had anything to do with his father. I think he was just out for revenge for Kite.
No, I think it has to do with his father. I think he associates Kite with knowing like a bit of his father because he was introduced to Kite via his father. He used that as attachment. His father wanted to send him to Kite. That's why he ended up with Kite instead of his father after he used the card in Greed Island.
Kite was such a great character. I really liked his weapon thing. I thought his weapon was kind of funny.
Did you think it was weird when they made him into a little girl?
I did think it was weird, but I felt like even though his appearance looked different, I could tell it was still like Kite. So I don't, if they like keep Kite as a character moving forward, that might be interesting.
Yeah,
maybe if they do a time skip like One Piece, where
What do you have to
Kite's
do a
like
time skip?
No, they look. So we talked about a little bit about the Chimera Ant arc, right? We know that they came from the Dark Continent. It was kind of like speculated that the queen ant that gave birth to all of them had human DNA at some point. So now we speculate that there's possibly like humans over in this dark continent. But if you see in the map, and I wish I could share my screen, the known world is like a speck, and then it's inside this lake, and the whole rest of the world is this dark continent that people have only ever searched like the beaches, like the shores of. Like you had Netero, one of the ancient Zoldyks, and like some other girl go there. They were the only ones ever to return from that trip. So it's like One Piece, but imagine if One Piece, like the Grand Line, was the entire world. Alika, Nanaka, is some type of spirit. We've seen the power that she has. It's some type of spirit from the dark continent. That just gives us like, you know what I mean? Like imagine what's on this continent, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It'll be really cool if they like continue the show, and there's obviously it's supposed to continue, but the creator just keeps getting sick and then like has to stop writing the show for like a few years. He's got like a genetic disease, I think.
It should really be as far as One Piece, to be honest with you. Hunter x Hunter, like if you think about that, like because they still haven't really hunted. I always say this, they haven't really hunted that much. The Chimera arc was a little bit of that, but it was mostly training. If we think of Arc 1, Arc 2, Arc 3, even the Chimera Ant arc, we see them, they're all training, and I think it's building up. So you see a lot of times characters aren't getting screen time. Well, if you read ahead in the manga a little bit, you see, oh, Hisoka ends up hunting down the Phantom Troop and starts killing members. Oh, he and Chrollo meet at the battle tower beyond the 200th floor. Oh, they are planning an exhibition to not the Dark Continent, but a little island that they haven't even discovered that's near the coast of the Dark Continent. And they're talking about that is like supposed to be some crazy place that perhaps the Chimera Ants came from. So maybe they didn't even come from the Dark Continent. They might have just came from an island that just the humans haven't explored that's close to the Dark Continent. I mean, it's an entire world.
I mean, everything you just said, I think would have been more interesting than having like 70 episodes of the Chimera Ant arc. Yeah, I just felt like it was too long.
You have to walk before you can run, man. You got to walk before you can run. Like, we had to have those 200 episodes of regular Naruto to get to Naruto Shippuden. We didn't just start with, like, Naruto with the Shadow Clone Jutsu and Rasengan taking on the Akatsuki, right? You have to build up to that point. So, inevitably, there's going to be some boring parts until you get to the best parts.
I would say the majority of this arc was boring, whereas when I'm watching, like, Naruto, there are some boring filler, but I would say the majority of those 200 episodes weren't boring, whereas the majority of these ant arcs, I really didn't care. Like, I didn't that wolf character. Like, why did I need to know what that wolf was doing?
He actually reminded me of you. But yo, Ted, I have a question for you, Ted. Yeah. How many times have you seen Hunter x Hunter?
Twice.
Do you feel like the second time you watched it was better than the first, or the first was better than the second?
Hard to say.
I could skip around the second time, so maybe it would be better.
The first was definitely more exciting, but I think the second I was like kind of drunk and shit, so it was more fun.
Full honesty.
The reason I asked is because I felt like, because I've watched it like 4 or 5 times, I feel like every time it's gotten better. Because I had the same critiques as Matt initially. I was like, I actually had to stop at the Chimera Ant when they started dissecting the archer's head. That completely blew my mind. I was like, whoa, what did I just watch? It's like you're watching the Powerpuff Girls and all of a sudden you start seeing like Friday the 13th. It just throws you for a loop.
Yeah, that's one thing I really like about the Chimera arc. It's like it really gives you like the feeling, and I've seen other animes try to do it, but not really get there. It really gives you the feeling like humans could be like a second tier species that starts to like be hunted one day or some shit, you know, like you feel like you're like cattle watching it.
They were calling them livestock.
I think that's the whole thing with Hunter x Hunter. It's like
eating children like they were veal. Yeah. It's like,
yeah, it was just,
and then they're evolving off of all these animals and our DNA from eating them, because that's how like their reproductive cycle is, and you can see it, and they're just rapidly like evolving before your eyes off of human DNA mixed with all these animals. And you just see like evolution happen like in a fucking millisecond.
Now, Ted, imagine this. They classified them as a B level threat. Mind you, we got A level threats, we got S level, we got
it's kind
plus
of like
S.
That's kind of like the S, the A, and the B level, like demons in Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah, they did like they like recycled that.
I feel like this artist, he has a lot of different ideas. Like if we already think about the arcs before this, they're all completely different from the last one. So I think, yeah, in this arc specifically, he just wanted to show off his ability to imagine. And that's why I'm so excited for what we have later on that he's going to get into.
He brought me back into the show with that last arc. Like Hunter exam. I love the Hunter exam just because I had everyone I enjoyed. I had Kurapika, Leorio, Killua, had Illumi, Hisoka, Netero. I had like all the best characters in the Hunter exam. And then I feel like they kind of went back to that in the last arc. They brought Canary back, they brought the Zoldyx back, like Illumi was like a main character in that arc, and
So you know what's funny?
so was Hisoka.
I think that was the worst arc of Hunter x Hunter.
They brought Gotoh back too. I thought Hisoka versus Gotoh, that was one of the best battles in the whole
That arc
show.
was shit. Think about it. They literally were doing a chairman election that didn't even matter. What was the point of the chairman election?
They have to replace Netero. What do you mean?
There-
There was
nobody-
a clear and
nobody was-
obvious objective,
you-
clear and
do you
obvious
realize
point
that-
to that arc.
Only one of them actually wanted to be the next chairman. The whole time, the dude with the yellow hair, I'm looking at him like,
I enjoyed his character because like no one could
what was his
outsmart
purpose?
no one could outsmart him. They're like
All right,
everyone was like,
answer
we
me-
don't want Pariston to be the chairman.
I got
And
one
he's
single
like,
question
I
for
don't
you.
even want to be the chairman. I just don't want to lose, and they still couldn't stop him.
I got one single question for you. What was Harrison's goal?
He just didn't want to lose.
What do you mean he didn't want to lose? He literally gave up at the very last.
No, he won, and then he's like, yeah, I don't want it. So now Cheetle, the dog person, can do it. So he won.
That's not what. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I haven't seen the last season in a few months, but I thought that he ended up giving up at the end.
No, he won. He won the election, and then he's like, okay, my first order as the new chairman is I'm going to make the dog girl my vice chairman, and I'm going to resign. So he won, got all the authority, and then his first act with that power was to step down. So he won.
Was that what happened, Chris?
That's what happened. But I mean, yeah, he gave up at the end. Like he never wanted to be the chairman, and he didn't want to lose either. But to me, that arc also could have been shorter because there was only one person that wanted to be the chairman, and it was just a bunch of like bullshit voting until it got up to that point.
But that wasn't even like, I wouldn't even say that even
Like-
took up a lot of the screen time. A lot of it was Killua and Aluka like trying to avoid Illumi.
Well, how are you going to defend the fact that his father, nobody's seen him before? They do one little group meeting. He comes, and it's the lamest meeting that we this whole time we were trying to get Gon and his father together. We're trying to see why his father left him. He had no reason. He was just a worthless father.
You were saying last episode that you liked his dad. I told you I thought he was a piece of shit because he just abandoned his son. But
No, I don't like him. I thought that was the lamest plot point. We finally get them to see them together, and
I think it's just showing that like maybe Gon would have never found them. It's just they had to all be there for that election, which is what brought all the hunters together. I don't know if Gon would have
you're
ever
not
found them.
defending your points. How is that not lame?
Oh, I don't because I don't care I don't care about Gon that much as a character. Like all the other like Illumi and Hisoka are the reason I like this show. So I didn't really care about Gon, especially after the Ant arc.
So you're just trying to spite the show by saying that the last season, which is clearly the worst season, is one of your favorites, just to kind of spite the show.
No, it was centered around Killua and his family. I like the Zoldyck family, and then Hisoka
Zoldyck
versus
family.
versus Gotoh, that butler. I thought that was a really cool fight where he's like shooting all the coins at him, and then you get to see Hisoka like actually try in a fight.
It sounds like you just want to play Mortal Kombat. Seems like you don't really want a story. You just want to see people fighting. Why don't you
I told you I liked the Hunter exam. I liked how they were progressing through all those challenges. I just don't really care for these arcs where they introduce characters that don't even matter and that don't get any screen time later on in the show.
Valid points.
And it's gonna,
I haven't heard a valid point made yet.
He likes fighting. He likes the action, not really the actual story being told.
Then pick up a PS4 controller, play the new Mortal Kombat.
I
different, though.
liked Aluka and her backstory and how they were talking about her powers. I just didn't care for the talking octopus or the talking cheetah, the talking lion. I just didn't care for those characters. The Phantom Troop was cool. I wish they would have explored that more. Kurapika, I liked Kurapika. I'm glad they brought Leorio back in the last arc. I just didn't really like the ants, and the ants in the Greed Island were over half the show. And
Oh,
Yeah,
Greed
Greed
Island
Island.
was a good arc.
Greed Island arc and the Chimera Ant arc probably made up 60 to 70 episodes, which is half this anime, and I really didn't care for those two arcs. I like when they were in Heaven's Arena, there wasn't really too much action going on when they were just trading with Zushi and learning about their Nen abilities. So it's not all about the action. I did like to see them like testing out their Nen abilities in the water, like if it changed taste or if it like overfilled the cup, like they figured out their Nen ability. Like I did care about some of that stuff. It's just those two arcs that kind of ruined the show for me. I did like the last arc, so it ended on a positive note for me. Like Rob was
Whoa.
saying, there's lots of potential with the Dark Continent. Like, could get really cool if they extended the show, but I feel like lots of parts of the show were just very random.
Yeah, actually, to that point, I want to talk about like that them learning their Nen abilities from the water. I could have sworn, like when that dude was actually teaching Killua and Gon, he was like, "Yeah, not many people know how to find out their Nen ability or what kind of like nature they have." And then lo and behold, like this little kid that got turned into the Chimera Ant knew how to do it when they taught all the other Chimera Ants how to get their Nen ability. So it didn't even really seem that like that wasn't well known knowledge. Well, I'm not sure how they would have came and got it if it was supposed to be not that well known.
Well, as someone who's watched the show like 5 times, they had access to books in the NGL, and he, along with Neferpitou, were reading, and they used the archer who they dissected his brain to fill in the gaps. That was when they really learned about the ability.
Which one was the archer?
Poyo or Pokio?
Was it the
Wait,
penguin?
no, it was the little blonde haired guy.
The hunter. No, he had like orange hair.
Oh yeah. When they killed that girl that was with him,
Pokkle. His name is Pokkle.
but that girl that had the bees that came out of her hat, dude, she got
Oh,
assassinated by that
yeah.
koala. That was like a pretty great. They had some crazy kills in the Chimera Ant arcs. I just didn't think that a lot of the story was that good. But some of the kills, I will admit, like they were pretty gruesome. Like she just got executed.
Well, because that was your critique in the first part. You were like, "Oh, not enough people die," and I told you last video. We can run back the tape. I said Hunter x Hunter kills the most.
I don't know if it killed the most. Like it did kill a lot of like scrub humans when they were like just like flying around eating them. But then the king was even like spitting them out because they didn't taste good. It's just like a lot of random like NPCs essentially.
So the head of the Hunter Association, the most powerful hunter, is an NPC.
Yeah, like I was saying, I thought that fight was like almost like he could have just
Meruem is
stayed.
an NPC.
He could have just stayed and played
Kite,
Gungi with that girl the whole time. And then
Kite is an NPC.
they introduced them specifically for this arc and then got rid of them by the end of the arc. So it's not like they were in the story really. Only Netero was. And then I guess that girl with the bee hat was in the Hunter exam arc.
I mean, Pokkle, the archer, but I mean,
Yeah, him
Kite,
too.
I feel like Kite is going to get more. I think you're not able to appreciate this, but you will as you like get bored. You've kind of caught up to a lot of anime, and you're like, what am I going to rewatch? And then you go back to Hunter x Hunter, you'll be like, yo,
I'm skipping Greed Island and the Chimera Ant arc if I rewatch this show.
It would be a long time before I would ever rewatch Hunter x Hunter.
I thought the same thing, but I ended up watching it. I think rewatching it like maybe this was during like COVID 2020, so I just had a lot of time. I ended up watching it within the first like 3-4 months after finishing.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a good anime, but like also Naruto is a good anime as well. And I rewatched it twice, and that's all I needed. To me, there are animes I will rewatch. I just don't know if Hunter x Hunter would make that list. Now, when they come back with new episodes, I'm gonna continue watching that. But to me, it just doesn't scream rewatchability.
I mean, if the newer episodes are like Gon and his dad going across to the like explore new worlds, that would be interesting potentially.
No, I think what's going to happen is Leorio, Kurapika, Gon, and Killua, they're going to get back together. They're going to venture off into the Dark Continent with some of the other hunters.
What is
And
Kurapika's incentive to do that? I feel the only reason he would do that is if the Phantom Troop also went out there.
for all I
I
know,
don't think he really cares about he I don't even think he showed up for the election at all. I don't think he cares about pretty much anything else.
for all I know, his clan could have originated from the Dark Continent. They already say that people originated from the Dark Continent, but what if his clan in particular has close ties to the Dark Continent or some of those other islands? That would get him to go.
Yeah, I just don't he didn't even visit Gon when he was in the hospital, so I really don't think he would care about meeting up with them for an adventure. It seems like he's got his mind preoccupied.
Oh yeah, no, I feel like though when she returns, you're probably never going to see like Ging except for like random episodes. I don't think they're going to have him as like an integral part of the story.
Who's that?
Gon's dad, Ging or Jing, how you pronounce his name.
Yeah. Unless they're
But
doing adventures together, because now that Gon has his hunter's license, like they could go on an adventure together.
it could, but I feel like it would be kind of it would be a weird dynamic if it's Gon, Killua, and Gon's dad. If I feel like oh you haven't seen One Piece, so that's hard to compare.
I mean, Rob and Ted have, so you can.
So One Piece, they have like Ace, like Luffy's brother, and they do meet up at some point, but it's kind of like Ace has his own adventure, his own crew. They don't, even though they're strong enough to like go to adventures together, it doesn't really make sense for the story.
I don't really
Yeah,
see Gene like having his own crew per se, though. So if he was the leader of the adventure, I think it would be similar to when Gon and Killua were following Kite. He's like, if you can keep up with me, then you can come with me.
and do you think 12-year-old Gon can keep up with his dad? That's like a professional hunter.
He was trying to keep up with Kite when they were fighting the ants, so he could try. I don't think Gene would hesitate to leave him behind if they were slacking.
Yeah, and I feel like they just have. I feel like they would have different goals. Although I'm not sure what Gon's goal would be, besides just explore.
Because he climbed that tree to the top to meet his dad, and he was like even asking him like, "Oh, how long did it take you to get to the top from this point on the tree?" And then he was like, "Oh, that's not bad." So he was kind of. I think he could now that his son is a hunter, he could like treat him as an apprentice. Whereas when he was a child, I don't think he was interested in treating him as an apprentice because like he didn't even know Nen yet. Like he's pretty
Yeah,
much.
honestly, his dad didn't give two shits about him.
Yeah.
You're a cool kid, but you know.
I'm surprised they never
Yeah.
talked about his mom. Gon said like he didn't even care to know his mom because he had his Aunt Mito, who we didn't even talk about in the first episode, which I thought was interesting. But she is kind of insignificant.
Sure.
But yeah, he's like, I don't even care about meeting my mom because I have Aunt Mito. I was like, I was kind of curious as a viewer to know who your mom was.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. He's like, "Oh, I want to find my dad because he sat there and left me." But they're like, you have another parent that also
Or was his
Yeah,
mom
but-
not
your
even
dad.
alive? I don't
Yeah, but he
remember.
knows his dad was doing some cool shit, so he'd rather follow the one who's doing cool shit.
Maybe his mom
he's-
died.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
but we don't know if his mom was doing cool shit because he cut off the recording before his dad said anything about it.
You probably just assumed probably not.
Hmm. No, but Matt, I don't see that if his dad, if Gon and his dad goes on adventures, kind of like what kind of fights will we see? Because obviously his dad is going to be like much stronger. You're not really going to see like Gon develop because he's already going to have like a stronger fighter next to him. It's almost impossible to make Gon the main character. Even though I agree with you, I don't think he's the best main character. I would much rather see Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio on similar power levels than to have like Jing lead the charge.
Like Killua's fights were interesting. I really was not interested in Gon's fights at all because he just had a really slow version of a Falcon Punch, and it like wasn't. I really don't know. Like I just thought his attacks were pretty boring. Like I guess you can make the same argument for like the Kamehameha, but at least that's like a long range attack, and also it can be hard to dodge. I don't know how people weren't like dodging Gon's attack all the time.
The show me rock.
Yeah, I thought
Show me paper.
yeah, I thought that was kind of just like goofy and not. I thought it was, and then he's like, now I'm gonna do scissors. It's like, all right, I see the theme you're going for with these attacks, but I don't really think
Look,
it's interesting.
look, that's 3 different attacks in one. They did this. Look, they literally copied Naruto. You got the Rasengan, then you got like the Rasen Shuriken, and then what was the other one? The double Rasengan.
But his
move,
Rasengan didn't take as long to use.
Jeez. That's true.
Especially when he started like bringing the shadow clones into it. Like I feel like he was doing, and then the Rasen Shuriken. I feel like he was developing his skill and doing interesting attacks based off of this main attack he learned. Whereas Gon's just like still just doing the show me rock.
All right.
Look, oh wait, he had the show me paper was the air palm, so he was able to like.
He never used
throw
it.
that
They
out
they
there.
showed him like use it against Knuckle when they were training. Like, oh, I trained this new attack, but I never really saw him use it in action
Yeah, they said it
against
was
the
by-
actual enemy, because I don't really consider him fighting Knuckle like as him fighting an enemy.
Yeah, it was by far his weakest of the 3 attacks because it was like the exact opposite of his enhancer ability, or like close to the opposite of his enhancer ability.
I would have liked to see Zushi fight an ant. Like if they brought those guys back, that would have been fun.
That would have been interesting.
But I just feel like they rather than bringing back the cast that they had introduced throughout the show, they just introduced like new characters that I didn't think were that interesting. Like Shoot, the guy without the eyebrows, I didn't really like care about him.
He was all right. Well, I mean, at the beginning, I know when the captain came, or like when the captain came, he was like, "Yeah, the organization or the government doesn't really think this is a huge threat, so they just sent us 3."
I thought
I mean,
I thought the smoking dude was pretty cool, and like his partner, like that dude in the suit whose hair turned white.
I
after
didn't
he
like the
broke-
guy in the suit, but I did give Moral. I gave Moral
thought he
props
was
earlier, but I just didn't like the people he fought. I didn't like the cheetah or the lion.
the cheetah was my least favorite Chimera Ant.
Yeah, and he got a lot of screen time too.
He was
All right.
fast.
I did want to show like the Dark Continent, because that's where I think the Hunter x Hunter becoming like, or having the most potential out of any anime comes into play. Okay, like if we think about this as the map, look at how crazy this is. We have the known human world, which is this tiny speck. You remember that tree that you guys were just talking about where Gon talks with his father?
Yes.
That's there, and we saw how big that was. This is a real world tree. We remember Ging talking about it. You see at the top there?
Yep.
And all throughout here, they've shown like little clips they've had in the manga of what exists on the Dark Island. I mean, on the Dark Continent. I mean, here we got more images here. Look at some of this stuff. It's just hard to imagine with what we've seen so far. It's all taking place in this teeny tiny bit, and there's all this destruction. I mean, what is that there over in the mid right? Is that a Coliseum? Got like some sort of spider freak at the I guess the beach. Is that like a, I don't even know how the ocean would form like that.
You did just remind me of something by saying Spider Freak. I'm trying to think of what that Phantom Troops member's name is. I think it's like Shizuku or something, or the one with the vacuum cleaner.
Oh yeah, that's probably one of my favorite.
Dude,
Phantom
she
Troop members.
destroyed that ant, that spider ant by like sucking all his blood out of his body.
That was one of my favorite fights in that arc.
Yeah, that was insane. And then I'm surprised you didn't bring this up, Rob, when Feitan was fighting that scorpion ant.
Yeah, the queen.
Yeah.
I always knew Feitan was crazy, but to see like the maniacal laugh after he had her in the heat, and he's just like, I mean, you always knew he was crazy, but yeah, he just exposed himself on that.
Yeah, so I'll definitely give it that there were some cool scenes in the Chimera Ant arc, but they were just few and far between.
I mean, I'm just telling you guys, like this dark continent that they're about to go to, and I think I really like this fan arc here. I mean, fan art. It's like showing like Kite in his girl form. We got Gon. We've seen like some Chimera ants here, and
Oh, there goes
some.
Colt.
Yep, they got
Yeah.
Cole and then the koala who like executed that girl with the bee hat.
I just think when we're looking at the dark continent and we're thinking about all that we've seen so far of them not like fully fleshing out every single like plot point that they've opened up, it just leaves so much opportunity for them to explore.
Now, wait. I will say this though. On that point, we have to be careful now. Like it's only half the part of it. The other half is actually putting it together, right? Like in the NBA and NFL, every year they have a number one pick, a number one unquestioned best player in the draft. But guess what? Not everyone number one pick ends up having that Hall of Fame career. So they do have all this potential for 3,000, 4,000 episodes, but it's another thing for this author to be able to take all those episodes and actually give us a good story. You can easily go down the wrong hole. Take Naruto, for example. They had an amazing premise for Shippuden. They fumbled the bag at the end. So that's not out of the realm of that could also happen on Hunter x Hunter. So it does have the potential, but having the potential and being able to like actually show us what that potential is, much easier said than done.
What do you think about the dark continent, Ted?
Oh, your mic's not even working, bro.
Homie might have been trying to talk this whole time and his mic was out.
I've been hitting mute when the birds start screaming. So
let's hit the Chidori sounds.
Yeah, it could be cool, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything yet. They just said it's there. So
you're like ranking this Rob as one of the best animes, like based off of stuff we haven't even seen yet, which is where I get confused. It's like based off what I've actually seen, this is nowhere near one of the top animes.
No, people say that this is one of the top anime. Some people say this is the best anime. I say that it has the potential to be the best anime. It's not even close. I love One Piece, but One Piece does not have as much potential as Hunter x Hunter. It's just not even close. We're talking about a sliver of little water versus an entire continent of who knows what. It's never been explored. Like One Piece, they've explored a lot of these islands before. The Dark Continent has never been explored because everybody that's come there has been killed.
It's a huge,
like Netero and a few others.
It's a huge question mark, but I wouldn't say it's potentially the best just after seeing like there could be lots of stuff similar to Greed Island. It's like Greed Island was not good.
Well, that goes back to my point is I feel the entirety of Hunter x Hunter is the equivalent of Naruto, probably up to the Chunin exams. It's like they haven't even really gone on a real mission.
What is your favorite? Or go ahead, I'll finish your point.
No, I just feel like the trip to the Dark Continent is like the equivalent of them going into the Grand Line in One Piece. It's like imagine if you only had prior to them going into the Grand Line of One Piece, and you're like, well, One Piece, I feel like they just didn't flesh out what was going to happen to Luffy and Zoro and all this stuff. Yeah, because they're not even close to the way finished.
Yeah.
True. But let's not forget what happened with Naruto after the Chunin exams. Let's not forget, like, they had some good arcs, but there were also some terrible arcs. There was also some terrible filler. I think that, like, expecting it to be 100% amazing once you get to the Dark Continent, you're just setting yourself up for failure. Well, like, there could be amazing arcs, but there are also going to be terrible arcs along the way. And
no, I don't think Naruto is a good example. I shouldn't have said that. I'd say One Piece. I think it's very similar to One Piece. Like One Piece, they're going into like seas that aren't very well explored. Hunter x Hunter, they're literally going into a continent that covers the rest of the world that hasn't been explored.
Just based off what I've already seen, I can see them like they started talking about the Phantom Troop, and I was really interested in that. And then they just went to Greed Island, so I can see them like starting to talk about exploring the continent, and then they're just going to go into something I really don't care about, and it's going to lose my attention.
Yeah, I do question the artist's ability to finish. I just don't even think he has it in him to finish this because, like I said, he really should have been at episode 1,000 along with One Piece right now.
What was your favorite arc and Hunter. We'll start to wrap this up. What was your favorite arc?
No question, York New City.
Okay.
I second that. New York, New City was my favorite story arc.
I might go with the I really did enjoy the last arc and the first arc.
Ooh, the Hunter exam arc was my close second. Now, the last arc was that was the worst one for me, to be honest. I'll take the Chimera Ant arc and I'll take the Greed Island arc over the last arc.
I just liked watching Illumi like attack that limousine when they were all in there, and I liked watching Hisoka fight Gotoh. I thought that was a pretty cool fight in the forest
Cool.
where he like slit his throat. They actually showed Gotoh alive in like the ending credits, which kind of threw me off because I thought Hisoka killed him.
Oh, so I actually had to look that up because I was confused as well. They got one of the Chimera Ants or somebody to transform to like make it seem like the butler was still alive in order to trick Killua.
Oh, so he is dead.
He is dead, yeah.
Okay.
But they had someone take his place. So I'm not sure how that goes into the story later on. But for all intents and purposes, they had someone else pretend like he's still alive. I really wish he would have lived. I wish Hisoka didn't kill him, but
I thought that Granny Butler was kind of interesting as well that they introduced. But well,
her power was kind of weird.
Yeah, she was just ripping her fingernails off. I was like, dang.
How did you feel when Nanaka was asking that lady for her liver? Then she asked her for her intestines. Then her spine,
I would have decked her, bro. After the second one, after she said, "Oh, how about your liver?" Right, I would have knocked her out. There's no other way to like get out of that situation.
I would have tried. It might not have worked. She might have kept asking me questions, but I would have just tried like not responding. Like, because I know if you fail the 3 questions, you're dead. But what if I just like don't ever answer the first question? Then maybe she won't even ask me a crazy second question.
No, she knows her power. She's gonna ask you that second question.
Yeah, then I would have just been done then, because I don't think I could have like pulled out my liver and given it to her.
I would have fought her. There's no other way out of
that. Ted, what did you think? What was your favorite arc, and maybe some of your favorite characters?
It's hard to say. I really liked the Phantom Troop arc. I really liked the Chimera arc, though it was a bit long. Oh man, honestly, I would have to say Gon is one of my favorites, and Netero, he's pretty dope. It's like he literally had and put a nuclear bomb in his body. You know, it's like he just seemed like this peaceful, wise old man till like the end when he started actually getting into shit, and then he's like, you know what, put a nuke in me. It's like, yeah, the student, like the nice old man I remember. Fuck. But yeah, those two. The dude smoking a pipe, he was pretty cool. I like the King.
What did you think about the last arc, Ted?
The last arc? Yeah, it was all right. It seemed more like it was building up to stuff, which is always cool. I always really like those like arcs in One Piece, like right after they get through some long arc, like like very beginning East Blue, East Blue, they get through that, they beat like Arlong, and then there's a short little like kind of arc about like, oh, the Marines know about this now and they're putting a bounty on them, and then they're going to this Marine town, this whole execution. Yeah, it was like building up to something, but it was a really cool build up, you know.
The example you were looking for was when they came out of Skype and they land in the military base.
Oh yeah, wait. It's been years since I was at that part, and I'm just about to get there. It's like I'm in Albasta right now. I think
he doesn't want you to spoil something that he'd already seen.
Don't re-spoil it for him.
But we do just have a couple minutes left, so I'll just go ahead and say my favorite characters were Illumi and Hisoka. I just think when they were on the screen, you knew like either they were talking, they were either talking about something big or something big was about to happen.
You like the pedophile? You like him looking at little boys?
You even said Hisoka was like one of your favorite characters, so don't get on.
Oh, he's one of my favorite characters, but he's a pedophile.
Oh yeah, he is.
Let's get that out of the way. My favorite character is Gon. I feel like Gon is definitely leagues above Yusuke Urameshi, Naruto.
Not even close.
He's a better character than all of them, in my opinion.
I'll take
Hisoka-
Naruto over Gon.
Yeah, there's several
Hisoka
characters.
is
I would take
a,
Yusuke over Gon, honestly.
I would take
Hisoka
no, I would not take
is
Yusuke over
predator on
Gon.
multiple
I
levels.
would.
What'd you say, Ted?
Hisoka is a predator on multiple levels.
Yeah,
He's
he's
the,
looking to
ul-
violate.
the ultimate
Pretty
predator.
badass.
They had to ask
I
him
think-
to walk in front because he was looking at Killua and Gon.
Bisky was about him. She was checking him out.
She was putting on the front, but
What were you
I
gonna say,
think-
Chris, for your
Well, I was
character?
gonna say I'll take Gon over any character in Yu Yu Hakusho except Hiei. He's the only character that I would take in that show over him. I think Hunter x Hunter is a lot better than Yu Yu Hakusho, but
facts. That's not conjecture. That's facts.
Not facts, but
wait.
you're entitled
My
to your
favorite
opinion.
character. My favorite characters is Killua and Hisoka. But now, wait, real quick, Matt, rate Hunter x Hunter 1 to 10.
5. Because I did
put it-
like
I put it-
I like
put it
the
as a
first and last
7,
arc.
8, as currently just constructed, 7, 8. But I put its potential at 20.
What about you, Ted?
I give it like about an 8, maybe like 7.5 out of 10.
I think 5 was generous for me because I honestly would have dropped it. But there were parts of it that were very enjoyable and that stood out to me. But as a whole, I didn't really think it from start to finish was constructed well.
Hey, looks like we had everyone's kind of all over the place. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. That has some decent moments. But to me, still better. I'm still better than Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm glad the author left for that show. The only reason I finished Yu Yu Hakusho was because you enjoyed it.
Other than the
But-
Sensui arc, I don't really think there was anything that was not action packed. I wouldn't really say there was any filler except maybe that arc.
I tried to rewatch Yu Yu Hakusho and it reminded me of Zatch Bell. I don't know if any of you guys ever seen Zatch Bell, but it's unwatchable. It's unwatchable as a 26-year-old.
All right, Rob's just gonna be a hater, but we're gonna wrap up this episode. Thanks for joining us, and thanks Ted and Rob, and we'll
Yes, thank you
see
guys.
later.
Thanks for being up here.
All the
Good
Hunter
show.
x Hunter fans, get in the comment section and roast Matt.
Average. Show was average.
It was I would have dropped it, but catch you guys later.
All
I
right.
think it's sleazy.